So that's why we're here. We're here to find out all things Russia, and the witnesses are determined by the evidence and nothing else. And the 702 reauthorization will come before the Congress fairly soon. And I, for one, have a lot of questions I didn't have before. Ms. Yates, do you have any evidence, or are you aware of any evidence that would suggest that in the 2016 campaign, anybody in the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government or intelligence services in an improper fashion?
And, Senator, my answer to that question would require me to reveal classified information, and so I can't answer that.
Well, I don't get that, because he just said he issued the report, and he said he doesn't know of any. So what would you know that's not in the report?
If I may, are you asking me or?
No, her.
Oh.
Well, I think that Director Clapper also said that he was unaware of the FBI counterintelligence investigation.
Would it be fair to say that the counterintelligence investigation was not mature enough to come to get in the report? Is that fair, Mr. Clapper?
That's a possibility.
What I don't get is how the FBI can have a counterintelligence investigation suggesting collusion, and you as Director of National Intelligence not know about it, and the FBI sign on to a report that basically said there was no collusion.
I can only speculate why that's so. There wasn't the evidence, if there was any, it didn't reach the evidentiary bar in terms of the level of confidence that we were striving for in that intelligence community assessment.
Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. Follow up on that. Are you familiar with the dossier about Mr. Trump compiled by some guy in England?
I am.
Did you find that to be a credible report?
Well, we didn't make a judgment on that, and that's one reason why we did not include it in the body of our intelligence community assessment.
You didn't find it credible enough to be included?
We couldn't corroborate the sourcing, particularly the second, third order sources. In conclusion, Russia's influence activities in the run-up to the 2016 election constituted the high water mark of their long-running efforts since the 1960s to disrupt and influence our elections. They must be congratulating themselves for having exceeded their wildest expectations with a minimal expenditure of resource. And I believe they are now emboldened to continue such activities in the future, both here and around the world, and to do so even more intensely.
Mr. Clapper and Ms. Yates, did either of you ever request the unmasking of Mr. Trump, his associates, or any member of Congress?
Yes, in one case I did.
Did either of you ever review classified documents in which Mr. Trump, his associates, or members of Congress had been unmasked?
Oh, yes.
Yes, I have, and no, I can't give you details.
The FBI notified the Democratic National Committee of the Russians' intrusion into their systems in August of 2015. But the DNC turned down the FBI's offer to get the Russians out and refused the FBI access to their servers. Instead, it eventually hired a private firm in the spring of 2016. WikiLeaks began releasing the hacked DNC emails last July. It took roughly 27,000 of the 27,500 DNC emails it released were emails sent after the FBI notified the DNC of the breach. Mr. Clapper, would you agree that one of the lessons of this episode is that people should cooperate with the FBI when notified of foreign hacks instead of stonewalling?
Yes, sir. I generally think that's a very good idea.
All right, let me ask you both a couple of questions. Can we agree, Director and Counselor, that the Russians attempted to influence the outcome of the election?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yes.
Do you believe that the Russians did, in fact, influence the outcome of the election, Director?
In our intelligence community assessment, we made the point that we could not make that call. The intelligence community has neither the authority, the expertise, or the resources to make that judgment. The only thing we said was we saw no evidence of influencing voter tallies in any of the 50 states. But we were not in a position to judge what actual outcome on the election.
How about you, Ms. Yates?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that's part of the problem is we'll never know.